Today, we're going to talk about how to start a lesson. You're a beginning teacher, maybe you're a homeschooling parent, or you're a veteran teacher, and you really want to rethink how to start a lesson. I'm the Pittsburgh Pedagogue with today's Teacher's Tip. I'm the Dean of the College of Education at Slippery Rock University, and we have students who have recently left Slippery Rock to graduate and have started jobs. So this tip is for you and for anybody else who should happen upon this webcast. So you're starting a lesson. Maybe it's in algebra, maybe it's in English, maybe it's in history. And there are four things that you really want to do when you start a lesson. You want to get folks settled. Maybe they're coming in from out of the classroom in the hallways, or maybe they've gone from one subject to the next, or maybe they're coming in for lunch. You want to get them settled. And so that's what a good start of a lesson will do. Number two, you want to get their attention. So not only do you want them settled, but their thoughts are going in numerous directions. And so the job of for you as a teacher is to think about, how do I get them focused on the topic at hand? The third thing that we want to do to start a lesson is to get them to really focus in your specific topic and to create ambiguity, create a problem, create something that students need to resolve, create what we call disequilibrium. And by throwing students off a little bit, by giving something ambiguous, by giving a problem that's meaningful to these students, what it'll do is make them realize, boy, maybe there's more to this topic than I realized, or you've piqued their interest. And we know that the brain wants to be in equilibrium. It doesn't want to be thrown off. It wants to make things right. It wants things to be stable. And so an effective teacher will start a lesson by throwing students off in a way that makes them interested in wanting to pursue the topic at hand. Also, what we want to do is, if we can, the fourth thing is attempt to debunk preconceptions. And folks have strong understandings of the way the world works because that's how they've functioned. And you're going to have students who are smart, have had prior experiences. And so the challenge also with a beginning part of the lesson is to debunk preconceptions, to get them to think about what they have already thought about, to build on that prior knowledge, and to move forward. So for an example, if you were going to deal with photosynthesis, what I would do, and what the Annenberg series has so well portrayed, is not ask a question, though questions are a great way to start a lesson, by saying, who in here knows what photosynthesis is? Boy, you're just fishing for a good answer and hoping that somebody came to your class knowing a whole lot about your topic. Better, think about doing something like this. Take a seed and put it into one of your students' hands. And then take a big log coming from maybe not a redwood tree, but an oak tree that's really heavy, and place that into one of your students' hands. And then ask the open-ended question, how did that seed become that tree? And you wait. And then the hands will shoot up. And then you can call on folks, and I guarantee what they're going to say is water, soil, and sunlight. Those are the things that are readily available that we see every day that cause that tree to grow from a seed and to become heavy. And then you can say, but you know that you've all missed the number one component of that tree. The number one thing that adds weight, that helps it to grow, that is a part of photosynthesis and what we're going to talk about. And then you can start to give some hints and to guide discovery. You might say, when we breathe out, has anybody heard the fact that trees breathe in what we breathe out? And And so, or you could ask, what's the importance of trees? Why do we want to plant trees that deal with the environment? And this idea that trees are helping the environment, they're taking something out of the air that makes things healthier and pollutant free. And maybe more likely a student will realize what the fact that what we breathe out, trees breathe in. And the fact is that it's carbon dioxide that we breathe out, and the trees breathe in and create wood and the weight of that wood. And so the question is, you've stimulated their thinking. You've demonstrated that they didn't know enough about this topic that they thought they knew. And the fact that now we've established facts coming out of your mouth. Now, you can read assignments, you can do laboratory experiments, but I think that a follow-up to this you will have to demonstrate exactly how carbon dioxide can become weight. And so the next lesson, you could start out with having one student wear gloves that protect their hands from dry ice, and have them reach into a cooler of dry ice and hold that heavy piece of ice. But it's not frozen water. You can lead your students by asking them questions. What is dry ice? And they say, it's ice that's dry. Well, no. If I told you this is frozen carbon dioxide, what do you think is taking place when you see the steam rise? They'd say, well, if it was water or ice, it would be water, but this is dry ice. Is this carbon dioxide that is being released into the air? And so, yes, that's the case. And so by asking questions and then demonstrating the second lesson, you've introduced 2 lessons on photosynthesis, and you've got them to think about what's the natural process for the trees, and how do they get their weight, and what is involved in photosynthesis that's important for us to know. And then through questioning and demonstrating, you've shown that indeed what we breathe out can have weight, and it's substantial, and that you understand now that parts of molecules can be taken from one state and combined into another to grow a huge, big, heavy tree, which is an important concept for students to get. So the bottom line is, how do you start a lesson? Ask good questions, but you make sure that those questions are something that students can answer, even though the purpose of your question is to demonstrate that nobody in the class has the right answer, and that there's a misconception that trees come from soil, water, and sunlight only, and that air doesn't have weight. It's so counterintuitive. It just is not a part of people's everyday experience. And so that's how I would start that lesson. If I was going to start a lesson, say in social studies, maybe what I would do is take a picture that really creates an ambiguity, trying to understand what's going on. And you can simply ask students, what do you see in this picture? And they will go for the superficial things that they see. And then by guided discovery, by using this concept that you can call it a bell ringer. Madeline Hunter used to call it an anticipatory set. Giving students evidence to evaluate, whether it be a seed and a log and their prior experience with how those things are related and how a seed grows, or the picture that you're giving, you're sort of providing some experience or something to analyze and then guide them along the way. So this is Keith Dills. I'm the Pittsburgh Pedagogue, and that was today's lesson on how to start a lesson.